Political Science in Delhi University. Professor Neena Shri, Department of Political Science, Samlal College. Dr. Smriti Patnaik, Senior Fellow, IDSA. Distinguished guests, faculty members of the college, principal of the college, and dear students. I would join Professor Rekha Saxena in complimenting the college for organizing this very important conference. Now, the topic for this session is India's internal and external threats, emerging security environment, challenges, and vulnerability. As you know, the world is undergoing rapid geopolitical shifts, both in terms of technological advancements and socio-economic transitions. India finds itself at the center of both risk and opportunities, because every risk also provides us opportunity. We are the largest democracy in the world today. Also, as Rekha has mentioned, a rising economic power, aspiring to become uh, third biggest economy very soon. We are also a strategic regional player. Therefore, India must always be vigilant to protect its national interest. The recent attack in Pahalgam is a telling reminder that we cannot lower our guards, as hostile forces are always present to threaten the peace and prosperity of nations. I had visited Kashmir last year, and I was extremely happy to see the kind of peace and tranquility that was prevailing over there, and the economy of the state was really booming. Last year, more than 2 crore tourists went over there, and the JNK administration told me last year itself that next year, that is this year, they're expecting more than 3 crores tourists. When everything was going on fine, suddenly this Pahalgam has happened. I would not blame the security, people in charge of security for this, because they have actually made excellent arrangement of security all over. But one never expected that such a thing can happen in Pahalgam, and not in Pahalgam proper, but in that valley portion, which is very remote. But anyway, this has now given us a signal that we should be vigilant all the time, and I'm sure the authorities are going to do that. When we consider the evolving security landscape of India, we realize the 21st century security environment is more complex and dynamic than ever before. Conventionally, military threats have not disappeared, but they have now intertwined with non traditional and asymmetric threats, ranging from terrorism to cyber warfare and border conflicts to water security. So, these are the new challenges which are coming up, which were not there earlier. Cyber security is a very serious matter, and terrorism is really causing all kinds of problems, not only to us but to the entire globe. Therefore, India's security concern uh, can be, classified both internal threats, which emanates from within our borders, and external threats, which are arising from hostile or unstable forces beyond our frontiers. Let me now present to you the various, components of internal security threats and challenges. First and foremost is the terrorism and radicalization. We are seeing that through the electronic media, through social, sites, a lot of youths are getting radicalized. We have to really guard against that. And for that, whatever safety, security is required to be brought in, regulation to be brought in, we must do that. We have seen the adversarial impact of this radicalization in Kashmir. Rather, we have been seeing almost every day in Kashmir, and to some extent in other parts of India as well. But we have not really come to a situation where we should really get too much concerned, because by and large our youth is not radicalized, and we must ensure that they do not get. The next internal threat is left-wing left-wing extremism, that is commonly known as Naxalism. This Naxalism, as you may be aware, started from a place called Naxalbari in West Bengal, but then it spread in other places. Uh, there was a time, besides Bengal, even Andhra Pradesh was very badly devastated with Naxalism. But both the states have been able to get rid of Naxalism, and now it is having its presence in Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Odisha. But it is waning, and to some extent Maharashtra, Gadchiroli area, but it is waning. They also tried to, set up something in my state of Karnataka, but they miserably failed. And I'm sure the kind of measures that the government have taken up, not just force, but also developmental projects, because the youth are getting driven to Naxalism because they are not having opportunities for growth. So development, job opportunities are also being promoted, and also the tough measures are being taken to see that it is curbed. I am quite hopeful that day is not very far, maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, this threat will cease to exist. Dear students, the biggest threat before us is communal and ethnic tensions. Now, we must not allow this communal tension to take place, because this is something, if it starts really gaining strength, it becomes very difficult to control. So, therefore, wherever we are, we must, play our part to see that communal harmony is maintained everywhere in the country. The next threat, which I have already mentioned, is the cyber threat and information warfare. I don't have to elaborate, you are aware, I have already mentioned about it. The next threat is illegal migrations and demographic imbalances. We are now seeing that demographic configuration in some states has started changing, which has created consternation, concern for the local people over there. Now, this must stop. Migration is taking place maybe from areas where people are not having enough opportunities of economic development. So those state governments must take note of it, and they must try to see that those opportunities are created, and this migration is, contained to a great extent. Complete containment is not possible, because after all, this is one country. People have to move from one part to another part, but it should not happen in such a manner that the local population is feeling threatened. So that we have to guard against. So these are broadly the internal, challenges that I have mentioned to you, which are threatening our security. Now we come to the external challenges. The first and foremost is the cross-border terrorism. Pakistan continues to be the biggest source of sponsoring terrorism, not only in India, but is also lending support to terrorist groups elsewhere. Therefore, we have to really put all kinds of international and diplomatic pressure to see that the terrorist networks like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and many others which are there in Pakistan are completely neutralized. These terrorists are also, besides of course killing the people, they are also indulging into other things, that is, smuggling of arms, using drones, for sending arms from one place to another place. If you go to our international border in Punjab, this has become a major threat. And they are also indulging into narco-terrorism. Punjab is very badly afflicted with drug finance. Actually, the youths are really getting completely spoiled, and all this is happening from across the border. So, therefore, this is a very serious threat for us, and we have to really work very hard to see that this threat is contained. The next external threat is border disputes and military standoffs. Here, you are aware that China has been creating problems every now and then for us, because the international border with China has not yet been determined. There were attempts made in the past, but I think we did not take it to the logical end. But nevertheless, the time is still there. We can work and see that it is settled, so that this problem every now and then that comes from China is not there. But one thing I would like to certainly mention, that earlier our Jawans on the border were not psychologically, strong enough to fight the Chinese out. But now the scenario has completely changed. And Galwan really gave a clear signal to Chinese that this kind of bullying is not going to work. And today, the information which I have is that our Jawans all across the China border are full with confidence, enthusiasm, and of course, Desh Prem. But nevertheless, this border, determination of international border has to be ultimately worked out. For that, we have to really work sincerely and get it done. The next external threat is encirclement of India by China. China is not directly creating problem for us, but is also trying to encircle us. I'll give you an example. If you look at Sri Lanka, the Sampathota port they have taken over. Initially, they developed that port for the economic development of Sri Lanka, but then the debt burden was so heavy the Sri Lankan government could not pay, and finally they said, okay, you can't pay the debt, then give the port, will operate for 99 years. So in a way, they have now got a permanent presence in Hambantota for almost 100 years. Similar thing they have done, in Pakistan, Gwadar port, in Balochistan, where they have, they have developed that port, and they have connected that port to their mainland through this China-Pakistan economic corridor. Now, then they also meddle with in Maldives, trying to meddle with in Bhutan. Nepal, they have already instigated, but luckily things are getting worked out. So the China strategy is that not only we should be entangled with them through this border skirmishes, and of course China is also helping Pakistan in every manner possible to create problem for us. So they have also tried to encircle. So what we have to do is that we have to see that we should be very active in our neighborhood and see that these neighboring countries do not get trapped by China, and we must try to keep them in our fold by way of extending all kinds of help, including economic development. The next, I would not call it threat, but definitely cause of concern is that we are heavily dependent on foreign technology. Now, we have seen during the COVID period that suddenly this dangerous virus came, and we were just not prepared. We did not have even, this one PP kits. We did not have even enough number of masks. But anyway, we took note of it. Prime Minister gave a call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, and the whole country has worked for that. And we not only fought that one effectively, But we also helped many countries, to do that. And in record time, the vaccines were developed, and these vaccines we also made available to various developing countries, and that really gave us, a lot of name and fame. So, what I'm trying to say is that there is a need for us to keep on working more and more, and see that we become self-sufficient even in the matter of technology. I am reminded of Rekha. Just I think a month back or so, Piyush Goyal, our Minister for Commerce, he told that our startups are, confining to such areas which are not of strategic importance. For example, Zomato or Swiggy, etc., they are only supplying food, but they are not really helping us in, developing any great technology as such. So he gave stress that startups should work even for, high technology areas, and I think there's a need of the hour. And our youth, all of you, are very, very intelligent in comparison to the youths I have seen in the rest of the world. Only thing, proper opportunity, proper avenue is to be provided, proper environment is to be created so that the talent flourishes. And I'm sure that what Rekha mentioned about the government schemes which they have started. If all of us work together, private sector also working side by side, we will certainly be able to make a major breakthrough. Now I'll quickly touch upon what all we should do to see that these external and internal threats are fully met with. First is that our armed forces have to be completely modernized, and our intelligence gathering capacity has to be bolstered. Now, in this direction, just government uh, PSUs are not going to be sufficiently enough to take care of their arms requirements. Like what the US and other countries have done, we must associate our private sector in a massive way, which the government of India has already started. The defense sector is now open for private sector participation, and I'm sure that things are going to become quite different in the years to come. Artificial intelligence, which Professor Rekha referred, is again a very important area, and I am very confident that our youth has got capacity to work on that and also ultimately help the country to become a very important player in not only usage of AI but also in developing AI further. The next thing that I would like to mention here is that we must also strengthen our internal governance system. Here, it's a very big subject. I would not like to elaborate more, but I would only say that good governance, inclusive development, grievance redressal mechanism are essential to undermine the roots of extremism. So there is no substitute of good governance. If there is a good governance at every level, most of the problems that we face internally can be contained easily. Cybersecurity, I have already mentioned. We have to develop a framework for robust cybersecurity. Next measure which I like to highlight is diplomatic assertiveness and strategic alliances, which India has already started. Rekha has also mentioned. We have already become a member of Quad, that is where USA, Australia, and Japan are the other partners, and we must also engage with ASEAN and African countries, and we should become a part of the global supply chain. What China is dominating today, we must try to see that we also become like that, and for that, a lot of effort is required to be put in, which we can certainly do that. The next one I'd like to mention here is the modernization of border management infrastructure. See, earlier, we did not care so much, to develop infrastructure in the borders. As a matter of fact, not like to name one defense minister in parliament said that undeveloped borders are the biggest protection. That was the most foolish statement. So I'm happy that the government has taken note of it, and lot of work is being done to develop infrastructure on the borders. And I'm sure that in say couple of years time itself, the scenario is going to be entirely different. So I really welcome this measure which the government of India has taken up to develop the border infrastructure. The next measure which I would like to suggest here is the counter radicalization and civic education. So, wherever a little bit of radicalization has taken place of our youth, we must also, as a society, as a government, as a country, work together to see that they are de radicalized and brought back to the mainstream, which is possible. Now, to conclude, I would like to say that India's security challenges are multi layered and continuously evolving. The threats we face are no longer confined to distant battlefields, but have entered our cities, cyberspace, and even our smartphones, and thus our homes. Therefore, security today must be understood not merely in terms of soldiers and weapons, but also in the strength of our institutions, the unity of our people, that is most important, unity of our people, and forward looking wisdom of our nation's policies. The future of India, a billion plus people with immense potential, depends on how well we anticipate, adapt, and counter these complex threats. Let us commit ourselves to building a strong, secure, and equitable India where every citizen, regardless of region, religion, or background, feels safe, empowered, and able to fulfill their potential to the fullest. We at the IIC organize several programs relating to security, and those of you who are interested are most welcome. I would like to particularly urge the principal of the college that if we will be in touch with you, please keep sending your students in batches to attend such programs which will be of immense benefit to them. So, with these words, let me extend my best wishes for the success of this conference. Thank you very much.